Hi, boys and girls. This is Mr. Yates. In this video, we're going to be going over the answers to lesson 11.08, displaying measurement data on a line plot. If you read the directions for this homework assignment, boys and girls, you needed to use the animal weights table here, and especially the animal weights line plot right here. That was going to be your source for the answers. And let's go and take a look at those first two. Says here, which weights occurred most often? As you can see here, we can count up our 1/8, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. There's 1/8 tons for the animals there, and there's also 1, 2, 3, 4 for the half-ton animals. So ideally, I would have liked you to write an answer sentence here, saying that like 1/8 ton and 1/2 ton occurred the most often. That would be the best answer sentence. If you could do that for me, that'd be great. And then the next question they asked for down here was find the fair share. So again, if you could just say like the fair share, if I spell it right, is 3/10 of a ton. Now some of you may be asking, well, how did you get that, Mr. Yates? Basically, boys and girls, what you need to do is to get the fair share of this is you're basically, if you put all the animal weights together, I know this is going to sound weird, but you're going to put them all together and then chop it up into equal shares so that we add up all the animal weights and then we divide them up amongst all the animals so that each animal has the same weight. So what I would do is I would take my 1/8 and add them up all together. And I'd have 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. And then I'd add up 1/4 plus 1/4. And then I'd add up my 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. Now here, boys and girls, if I added up all of my 1/4 or 1/8 all together, I would end up, let's see, 1/8 plus 1/8, well, that's 2/8, that's 1/4, and 2/8, 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8, so that's 1/4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4/8, which is the same as saying this would be 4/8, which is also equal to 1/2. So that's 1/2 a ton total right there. Right over here on this chart, where it says the 1/2s together, well, if I put those together, I would get 1/4 plus 1/4, and that equals 2/4, which, if I simplify that down, would be 1/2. And then my final is the animal weights, right? Oops, don't want to move that down. And my final one would be the animal weights for the 1/2. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1, and see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 over 2, so that would get 4 over 2, and if I simplify that down, I would just get plain old 2. So now what I would do is I would take all those and add them up. And I'll just do that right here. I'll show you what I would do. I would add my 4/8 plus my 1/2 that I added total together plus 2. And I'm going to change that with 4/8 because I simplified that originally all the way down to 1/2, so that's going to make it a lot easier for me to add it up. If I add up my 1/2s together, these two right here, then what I'll do is I'll end up with 1, and I'll put the 1 right here. And then I can just add the 2 together and end up with 3 tons as my total weight. But I'm not done. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a fair share. So I've got to take that 3 and divide it by the total number of animals. If I count up the animals, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what I'll be doing is I'll take the 3 and I'll have to divide by 10. Another way I could say that, or 3 over 10, which is basically a fraction. So the fair share is going to be 3/10 of a ton is the fair share that if I gave each animal that weight equally, it would all be 3/10 of a ton. Let's go on to the next page now. Now in this one, they ask you to make a line plot of the measurements in the table, and the title is a good title that they did here. You just took that amount of cashews right there, And you should have written up your own title, amount of cashews in pounds. Then you should have also went ahead right down here at the bottom and drawn a number line right down here. Make sure that you have 0 and 1. You should have 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4 for each of the fractions that are listed on the chart or on the table right here. And then you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's for the 4 that are 1/2 right here. Then you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 for all the 1/2. And you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 1, 2, 3, 4 that are 3/4. And that's pretty much what your line plot chart should look like. Really make sure that your x's are neatly stacked up. They're not getting all zigzaggy or different sizes, because it's really hard to read a line plot chart when it's looking all uneven. Now it says here, the next part, number 4, is what is the fair share in pounds of the cashews? And the fair share was 1/2 pound. And it would be great to say, if you said the fair share of the cashews is 1/2 pound. If you said that as the answer sentence, that's exactly the way it should look. Especially remember to use the words fair share and cashews and pound in there, along with the fraction 1/2. And you got that fair share again by taking all of these fractions and adding them up and dividing them by the total number of measurements, which are 12. There's 12 total measurements on here. We're going to move on down to number 5. Oops, made a big old line. And now here's a question. It says, how would the fair share in exercise 3 change if the table included 2 more half-pound measures? Explain. Well, the fair share would actually be the same. You could explain it like this. You say the total would be 7 pounds, and the fair share would be 7 pounds divided by 14, and you end up with still 1/2 of a pound. So make sure that you explain it by basically telling me that the answer would be the same and showing me how you got that. You could show me here 7 divided by 14 equals 1/2 pounds, and that's fine. However you explain it, it should be close to this. So it should be saying that you took 7 divided by 14 and ended up with 1/2. And also you should be telling me that the fair share remains the same. Make sure you do that. On this, boys and girls, for number 6, a vocabulary check, if you wrote that out as an answer sentence, that would be awesome. Well, it's a big, I don't know why it got so big right here. Let me clear that off, because that's awfully big. So I'm just going to close that off a little bit. Hopefully it'll come back to a smaller size, but really not right now. So I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to leave off the typing for right now until I figure that out, because, whoa, that's too big. All right. I'll go back to my, oh, I know why, because it's on big size. All right, now we're better. All right. A good answer sentence could have been fair share, and I'll spell it correctly. Fair share could be used to find the amount each person would receive if it was divided equally. If you did that as an answer sentence, you rock, boys and girls. That's great. Fair share could be used to find the amount each person would receive if it was divided equally. Excellent. Let's move on down to our final answer here. I'll clear out that answer sentence. Which is the correct fair share for the measurements shown in the line plot? And the correct answer is 1/3 mile is the fair share, and that actually should be the best way to answer that. 1/3 mile is the correct fair share. If you said shown in the line plot, awesome, even better. Good answer sentence makes it very clear that you understand what the question was. And that's why I like you to do them. 1/3 mile is the correct fair share shown in the line plot. And that's everything about assignment 1108, boys and girls. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and make sure you email me or Ms. Garcia, and we're more than happy to help you out. Thanks again for checking your work. And one more reminder before I go, please make sure you label anything where you made a calculation error, copy error, reading error, just to help to remind you what you need to practice avoiding the next time you do these assignments. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.